My name's Brooke Cameron and I'm the artist behind Being in the 10%. Being in the 10% talks about issues around working class students who are passionate about involving themselves in the performing arts industry. It tackles two true stories, one focused about my story and the issues I face being working class, and the issues that Andy Ewart, who is a successful performer in London at the moment. I don't know if I can describe what I would say being an artist is, but I can describe how it feels. I think because I've done it for such a long time, it's just part of something of who I am. The majority of people actually in the industry, from actors to obviously directors within theatre and TV, only 10% of them are from a working class background, and most of them are middle class, and it is a high middle class industry. I think it's something that I've always struggled with growing up. Through this Masters, it's made me realise I'm proud of who I am. Like, I've worked so hard for where I am today. I want other people who watch this, who are in the same position as me, to be proud of your culture, being from a working class background. My name's Brooke Cameron and I'm the artist behind Being in the 10%.
I was eventually kicked out of dance school I used to attend because my mum didn't pay the fees for the full term. I think she couldn't afford the lessons, but she also couldn't afford to see me not doing what I love every single weekend. Doing what I love every single day. After beating the odds of my teachers.
Being in the 10% talks about issues around working class students who are passionate about involving themselves in the performing arts industry. It tackles two true stories, one focused about my story and the issues I face being working class eventually when I moved down to London, and the issues that Andy Ewart, who is a performer, successful performer in London at the moment, and his issues growing up, and kind of him finding his foot in the industry as well. I think it started off for working class people, but I think it is for everyone and anyone, just to really for people to understand how difficult it can be for people from a lower class, working class background compared to people who have came from money or parents who have better jobs. It just shows how much harder some students have to work, and I think it's a topic that hasn't really been discussed before, well, not a lot that I've seen. So really I think for everyone and anyone who is interested in the industry and in performing arts, really.
An hour there, an hour back on public transport to the local theatre school. I was eventually kicked out of drama school because
People
my
don't
mum
take
paid fees for a full
creativity
term.
and intelligence, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think being creative is just, I know so many friends who do maths at uni, for example, and I tell them what I do in my course, and they're like, I could never do that, like,
Yeah.
that is amazing. Whereas, like, to people like us, like, people who do theatre and stuff, you're like, oh, it's just second nature, it's just something.
Still sort of like a stigma that
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to have intelligence.
Yeah,
to-
when really it's like, because when I went to when I did like theatre in my BTEC, everyone was like, oh, like, but it's just, you don't understand like the high stakes that you actually have to take, really. And like,
It's like
oh,
it's
what,
passion,
oh,
isn't it?
theatre, oh, why did you do theatre and stuff like that? But you don't realise actually how hard, like, after doing this masters, you realise like it is hard. You know what I mean? You have to think outside the box, kind of thing.
So your project and being in the 10%,
Yeah.
where did that title come from? What was your thinking behind using that title?
So basically, from extensive research and from sources, there's not a lot. The majority of people actually in the industry, from actors to obviously directors, within theatre and TV, only 10% of them are from a working class background, and most of them are middle class, and it is a high middle class industry, and it's just obviously showing that obviously the 10% that actually made it, like a rags to riches kind of story, like you see in all the TV films and all that. So yeah, that's where it came from, and I just my boyfriend actually helped me, like, came up with a name with it, because I was just like, what do I say, and I think through the actual piece you get to understand, oh, that's why that's where the 10% comes from, that's what it means.
I knew if I wanted to achieve my goal, I needed help, and a lot of it. Gaining 2 jobs at the side, I had some of the highest marks in all subjects. I had some of the highest marks in all subjects. I gained a principal role at the end of year show, and I received validation and compliments from my peers that I didn't receive in first year. Gaining 2 jobs at the side of college. Getting 2 jobs at the side of college to afford extra dance and singing lessons. I was committing myself into getting better as my passion was high emotion.
So why did you choose this topic for your work then? What made you passionate about this topic?
I think it's something that I've always struggled with growing up. I think through secondary school I didn't really, well, I wouldn't say I was different, because I went to a working class secondary school, so everyone was the same, everyone was like me. It wasn't until that I did my BTEC that I found myself a little bit different, like, because a lot of my classmates were from middle class areas. I found that they spoke different than I did, and that I had a thicker Geordie accent, and the way I acted wasn't the right stigma, how you would act to be like a dancer and stuff like that. Everyone just seemed to be prim and proper, but that's because that's what they want in the industry. They want like the muse, they want like a star, whereas I just didn't fit that. So I felt like through for a few years, when my late teens, I felt like I had to adapt and change to that. It's only till recently that I kind of just accepted that this is just who I am. Sometimes I do get self-conscious of like my background and stuff like that, when obviously people talk about going on holidays and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, that never happened, or because my mum's unemployed, it's like embarrassing to say that. And through school, she did go to uni, but then she's been unemployed since. But I used to just tell people, oh, she's got this job, and just, because it was, when you hear other people's stories, you'd be like, oh. But I think through this masters, it's made me realise I'm proud of who I am. Like, I've worked so hard for where I am today. In regards to money for drama school, like, I saved so much for this masters. Like, I'm just I want other people who watch this, who are in the same position as me, to be proud of your culture, being from a working class background. And sometimes it comes in your favour because you can use it for a piece for your masters end of year piece. But I think as well, why I chose that topic. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of works that I connect to that I'm like, oh, this is relatable. This is like I fully get it. I think there was one TV show at the beginning of last year I seen. It's called Alma Is Not Okay. Well, I think it was like a pilot, and I watched that, and that kind of it inspired me, because it's about this girl who's working class and her family and all, but it's like a comedy, and that work like inspired me. I was like, oh, that is really tasteful, and I was like, I want to create work that is tasteful about working class and not just like taking the piss, really, because that's what a lot of that happens in TV shows, like Little Britain and stuff like that.
So how would you take this project further in the future? And will you, do you think?
Definitely, it's something I'm passionate about. I think I've done it in a way where I've added dance, theatre and drama, and that's what I've done all my life. So if I did something completely different that like I had never done before, it'd make me not want to pursue it further. I would definitely expand it if I was to take it further, and I definitely would like to take it further. I think with this masters, I've learned more about becoming a practitioner, and that's made me passionate about like pursuing that. I'll definitely expand it in obviously more stories about working class people, working class people, especially people in the north. I would say northeast, because that's where I'm from, and I don't think there's a lot of anything like there's nothing that I've seen that is about that, like northeast drama students and their issues, and I would probably employ real life actual actors, so that would be really interesting to do. That was something that I've wanted to do this year, but obviously with Corona.
So you actually wanted to look at like working class actors?
Working class actors in general. Like I was looking at to get Andy actually here to perform his monologue, but he was in London unfortunately, and there was also supposed to be a third monologue, and I was going to get someone to perform that, but obviously through the process didn't work through COVID, so I was like, right, I'll just take the roles myself.
Yeah. Did you feel like an added amount of pressure doing that because you're like speaking for someone else's story as well?
Yeah. I think because if people come to watch this know Andy, they might be like, that's nothing like Andy, that's nothing. But obviously what I've learned from Verbatim, which is the style I'm taking in creating Andy's character, it's about like embodying the spirit rather than...
It's about the story, really.
It's about embodying him, not really impersonating, because it's a bit ridiculous. That's not Verbatim. Verbatim is just analysing their little characteristics and it's about their story.
Is there anything on this project that you felt just didn't work, or obviously because of COVID and stuff?
Well, I was supposed to have 3 monologues for the actual piece, one with Eve, and she's a famous practitioner and she's been successful in the industry, and she had a great story. It was perfect, and I arranged to meet with her, but last minute she dropped out because she was sick, really, which was unfortunate. I did have other offers to have people fill in that role, but it was only a small amount of time that I had to construct that, like to construct the interview, construct the monologue, and I didn't want that pressure. I didn't want to try and just fumble it all together, so I had that extra bit. I wanted to have 2 great monologues, and I was like, that works for me. They're both from the northeast, and I think I can work with that. Whereas I think that added pressure of adding one in, I would have been like, right, I need to get this done, and my filming had already been pushed back. And I think I'm a stressful person. I just don't think I would have been able to handle that. And as well with COVID and the restrictions and stuff, I know that my piece could have been so much more. Definitely with an audience, you can do so much more. But I've enjoyed working filming. It's something that I've done through my degree, and editing. That's something I've never really had a passion for until this degree, this master's, and it's something I was really interested in. So I think even a short film, you can do so much that you can't do on stage, which I think is interesting.
What is maybe the biggest thing you've taken away from this project in terms of both from a creative standpoint and personally as well? That's a good question. I think this is going to sound like cliche, but like confidence in myself. Because I think all the pieces that I have created, I think I am quite a creative person, and I've always thought of that negatively, because I'm like, oh, I'm not like the smartest. What is it? The smartest? What's that saying? Brightest. Something like brightest button in the box or whatever. But I'm not. I was diagnosed with learning difficulties, like specific learning difficulties, meaning I've got aspects of dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia. So I'd always thought I wasn't very smart, and I knew that was to an advantage, but I've kind of learned to just work around that and think I am smart, but I'm smart in different ways. So creating this project, and the projects have been like Gorgie Girl that I worked on late last year, they were great pieces, and I'm confident they were great pieces, and I think this is a great piece, and I just know that my intelligence is elsewhere. As cliche it is, I've just learned to believe in myself, and just if I'm passionate about something, take it forward. And from my extensive research from this master's and connections and stuff like that, I know I could, if I wanted to, take this piece further and develop it somehow. Because there's opportunities at Live Theatre, Northern Stage, so it's made us positive more about my future. And as well as that, I always thought performing was the only job you could get with a good theatre degree, but I've learned there's so many other opportunities behind the scenes at some of Newcastle's biggest theatres, and that's made me want to change career path. So I've been looking elsewhere in jobs. I'm still to be successful, but I've kind of changed career paths.